Hello, my name is Lucia Belles from the University of Valencia and Yilma, and today I am pleased to present the communication entitled AI-supported oral presentation practice in English for tourism. As you can see, my presentation goes as follows. First, I will begin with the current context of AI in education. Then I will describe the methodology. Afterwards, I will move on to the results and discussion. And finally, I will give some concluding remarks. So to begin with, we all know that artificial intelligence is transforming the field of language education by offering adaptive and interactive tools that support interaction, feedback, and learner autonomy. Traditionally, AI was perceived as a threat to academic integrity. However, we are witnessing this paradigm shift from saying AI as a threat to AI as a pedagogical scaffold. In language teaching, more specifically, these tools offer low anxiety environments for oral practice, enabling unlimited rehearsals and immediate feedback, which are elements that are crucial for self-regulated learning. Despite this rise of AI, most existing studies only focus on general English context. There's a notable gap in English for specific purposes and more specifically within the tourism sector. Bearing this in mind, this study seeks to explore whether AI can function as a pedagogical scaffold for oral presentation in tourism English. To achieve this goal, we depart from three research questions. The first one, to what extent does the integration of AI tools improve students' perceived performance in a tourism context? The second research question, how does the use of AI affect students' levels of anxiety and sense of learner autonomy? And the third question, what are the primary pedagogical limitations and ethical concerns identified by students during this pilot study? Now let's move on to the methodology. Here, the study adopted a mixed methods approach combining quantitative data gathered from pre- and post-service with qualitative data obtained from students' reflections. Ethical considerations were also taken into account since all participants signed a consent form before the intervention. As for the participants, the study was conducted with third-year students from a Spanish university. This is a digital native group with ages ranging from 20 to 22 years old with a B2 plus C1 proficiency level. And they all were enrolled in an ESP tourism module. As regards the procedure, the instructional sequence consisted of 6 different steps. After informed consent and initial survey, students were assigned an oral task. They had to complete a 5-minute presentation on a tourism-related topic. It could be mass tourism, niche tourism, dark tourism, and so on. So the core of the intervention happened in steps 3 and 4. Practicing at home using AI to receive feedback before this final in-class presentation that was graded. And finally, we concluded with a post-intervention survey to measure shifts in their self-perception. Here you can see an example of the different criteria that were considered in the pre and post survey. And now we are going to move on to the results and discussion section. So in the pre-intervention survey, the data was quite clear. So there was a significant percentage of students who experienced high levels of anxiety. And their main struggle wasn't just the language itself, but the organization of ideas and the fear of making errors in a specific terminology in front of the human audience. Here, for example, this section focused on the perceptions of AI tools for speaking practice. They all consider that the use of AI tools boosted or helped them to develop a greater sense of learner autonomy. And they thought that this type of tools can prepare them for real-life communication. When it comes to digital readiness, most participants reported easy access to devices and internet connection. They were all familiar with digital devices in general, and they were confident about learning how to use them. Here we can see some of the qualitative responses that were collected before the intervention. And here, for example, we can see that students mainly highlighted difficulties related to fluency, vocabulary selection, and formal language use. Many participants expected AI to support pronunciation, vocabulary acquisition, and idea organization. Okay. After the intervention, students reported greater motivation and better organization of ideas. Nonetheless, they were still feeling anxious when having to present in front of an audience. Here, for example, we can see the perceptions of AI tools for speaking practice after the intervention. And students generally agreed that AI improved or helped them to improve their oral production and increased their learner autonomy by providing also especially support for real life communication. In this sense, students also express some kind of willingness to continue using AI tools. Then in this third section, students also considered the tools relatively easy to use and integrate into the course. And most participants believe that the training provided during the intervention was sufficient. Although some of them still requested some guidance on how to interact effectively with AI platforms and systems. Overall, students evaluated the experience positively, and they found the integration of AI tools engaging, motivating, and innovative. From these results, it should also be noted that most participants highlighted that AI fostered their autonomy because they did not feel judged by the machine, so they could practice as much as they wanted. Therefore, the perception of this AI as a safe environment is perhaps our most powerful finding, as it effectively reduces the affective filter described in Krashen's theory. And looking at the numbers, we can also see that anxiety levels dropped an average of 4.0 to 2.8, while confidence rose from 2.8 to 3.2. So these are statistically significant changes that validate the use of these tools as psychological support, not just as linguistic aids. Of course, the use of AI is not a perfect solution. Some students pointed out the coldness of the machine. We can see this coming here. There's a certain coldness and barrier. Especially because there is a lack of nonverbal cues and human empathy in those AI tutors. And apart from that, AI may also be perceived as time consuming and cognitively demanding. So they need to be trained on how to elicit or generate prompts effectively. Okay. And apart from that, there's also a risk of over reliance, as the literature suggests. AI must remain a scaffold. It should never be a substitute for the student's own agency. That's something that should be very clear. Therefore, this all leads me to the conclusions. So AI in tourism enhances linguistic precision and acts as a powerful psychological scaffold. However, it does not and should not replace human interaction. The future here lies in ethical training and integrating these tools into a hybrid model where the instructor guides the critical use of technology. Okay. Of course, future research with larger samples is needed to determine the long-term retention of these linguistic aids. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them. Thank you.